If you enjoy learning the Cherokee language with RSU TV, join our Signal Society. Your monthly gift of $10 a month ensures that RSU TV can continue to produce programs like the Cherokee language classes. Click the link in the description or call 1-800-823-7210 to join today.
Wade Blevins, Dawadon, Galieli, Jigedo, Kohig. My name is Wade Blevins, and I'm glad that I am here today. Welcome to Cherokee 2 here at RSU TV. So we've been working through our lesson. We are at Sudaline, 6th Jalagi Adelo Kwaste. Our 6th Cherokee lesson, okay? Sudaline Jalagi Adelo Kwaste. So we're here at our 6th Cherokee lesson. We've been learning about the fox and the crawdad. This is a traditional Cherokee story. I think there are other tribes in the southeast that have very similar stories. And we actually have several stories that are very similar to this. We also have a version of the story that involves a squirrel and a crawdad. We have one about a rabbit and a deer. We have one about a crane and a hummingbird. We also have one about a rabbit and a turtle, which is very similar to a European myth. And so maybe once we finish this version of the story, we'll look at some other versions of the story that exist both in our language and worldwide as well. I think this is a very common theme to tell stories about. So, come, idalena. Let's go ahead and start. Jalagi idiwoni. Let's talk Cherokee today. Okay. So again, just to remind you, the way I would like for you to treat this class is I don't want you to try and memorize lots and lots of words because it makes it very, very difficult, but rather to try to immerse yourself in the sounds and to just kind of sort of let it wash over you. And eventually it just kind of gets in there and it just starts to make sense to you. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. My grandfather was a Cherokee. His first language was Cherokee, but he had lost a lot of his language by the time I came along because he was put in boarding school. And so all my life, when I was young, I was around a lot of speakers and I tried to learn Cherokee. I took classes and I bought books and tapes and I did everything that I could do. And I was still struggling a lot. I was really having a difficult time learning how to actually talk in Cherokee. I could learn lots of names of things. I could name all kinds of animals, and I could name my colors, and I could count, and I learned the syllabary and all of that. But I was really having trouble understanding sentences and paragraphs and speeches and being able to read stories and being able to communicate what I wanted to say in the language. And I came across this method of teaching, and in the process of learning and teaching this way, my own proficiency improved, and I got better and better at understanding Cherokee. And that's the first step, is understanding it. And then the next step will be speaking it. So I'm wanting to share that with you, and so the more that we go over it and the more you hear Cherokee used in context, as far as sentences, stories, paragraphs, the more it's just going to start to make sense to you. This is similar to how we acquired our first language, whatever your first language might be. This is kind of how you picked it up. So one of the tasks that we have is to introduce ourselves. This is very common. You'll be asked to talk about yourself, a little bit. And so we're going to talk about some common things that you might want to say when you're introducing yourself. Of course, we've already gone over Osioni God. We've learned Dawadon, Wade Blevins, Dawadon. My name is Wade. Jijalagi, I'm Cherokee. Or you might say Tla Jijalagi, I'm not Cherokee. Or you might just leave the G off, Tlajalagiyik, not Cherokee. Okay? We learned Digega, to be from someplace. And we learned Jinel, to live somewhere. Okay? There are other ways to talk about where you're from, just like we do in English. We can say Digega, we can say Awatansa, I grew up there. Awadena, I was born there. We do that in English too. It's like say, I was born in J, or I grew up in J, or I'm from J. They all mean the same thing. But being from someplace and living somewhere are not necessarily the same thing. Jinel and Digega. All right? So that kind of gets us caught up to where we were. So the new one is to talk about how old we are. Of course, not all of us do that. That's something more that kids do than adults. We don't often, when we introduce ourselves, we don't often tell how old we are. But we're going to talk about it, and there's some reasons why we're going to do this. So for one thing, it helps you with numbers. So there are a couple ways that people say it. So sometimes if we look at the characters, you see that there are parentheses here, and in parentheses we have E, Ya, okay? And then we have A, Wa, De, Ti, Yud, Da. Awa, De, Ti, Yud, okay? Some people say E, Ya, Wa, De, Ti, Yud. Some people say Ya, Wa, De, Ti, Yud. And some people just say Awa, De, Ti, Yud. For meaning this is how old I am, okay? So any way that you do it, they're going to understand. If you say Awadeh Tiyud, they'll understand. If you say Yawadeh Tiyud, they understand that. Or Iyawadeh Tiyud, they're going to understand that. So, for example, I am Nug Skon Chanel Awadeh Tiyud. Nug Skon Chanel Awadeh Tiyud. Nuk, 4. Skon, tens. So 4 tens, 40. Chanel, 8. So 48. Awadeh Tiyud. Years old. Okay? So, or I could say Nugsko Chanel Iyawadeh Tiyud. Okay? Nugsko Chanel Iyawadeh Tiyud. Either way, Nugsko Chanel Yawadeh Tiyud. Or Nugsko Chanel Awadeh Tiyud. Any of those ways that you say it makes complete sense. And it's comprehensible, okay? So one of the things that we talk about when we, one of the common things, especially if you're on social media or things like that and you have a lot of Cherokee speakers, you'll see Uli helis jadeti yiska, right? Uli helist means happy, jadeti yiska, your years, right? So that have passed. So that's the way that we say happy birthday. Uli helis jadeti yiska is a way to say happy birthday. Uli helis jadeti yiska. Okay, Uli helist Jadeti Yiska. Okay, happy birthday. Uli helis Jadeti Yiska. Okay. Our conversational Cherokee that we're going to use. This is probably one of the ones that most kids know, even if their family doesn't use a lot of Cherokee at home. And if we look at the syllabary characters, it says new law, new law, new law. Okay? So that means hurry. Nu la means hurry up. Nu la. Slang, it is often used to mean come here. I remember when I was a kid growing up in church, my grandpa was a preacher, and we used to sing in church. My whole family, we used to sing in church. And so whenever we had a special, my grandpa, he'd say, "Nu la chuj." He'd say, you know, come here. And he meant come here, all right? But that's not really what it means, but that's what the connotation is, and is come here. There are other ways to say come here, and we'll probably look at those at some point. But this is a really, really, really common word, nu la, nu la. And that means come here. Or it means hurry up. All right? Okay. So we're learning our story about Jutli Ale Jistan. Okay? So Jutli, hopefully by this time, we have two pictures here. Hopefully by this time you know which one of those is Jutli. Yep, it's this one right here, this little furry guy. And Jistan is this guy right here. Yes, Jistan. Jutli Ale Jistan. Okay? So let's recap the story. So our story is getting quite a bit longer, correct? And I think today, hopefully, we'll be able to finish the story. And we'll be able to tell the entire story from start to finish. And but remember, we learned a shorter version of the story in lesson 1. And it's kind of a Cliff's Notes or a synopsis of the main points of the story. And you know, when you're a beginning speaker, you can use that. If you memorize that, and you know, you could tell it, and you'd be like, I can tell a story in my language, because it has all the major parts of the story in it. But if you feel, you know, a little more confident and adventurous, you can start trying to learn this. You know, you don't necessarily have to memorize it all, but you can pick out the parts and tell the story yourself. So let's begin. Kam idalena. Okay? It says, Ilahiu chigesa nigoda inage anehi eli dantlano heska sawu iga klawo tuhi na amayulti adan sini doha jistan. Okay, na jutli wu wotla unlena he dan klano heska jutli jistan utadane doyus hisanul kadon ale amayike hisanul udane jistan utloyi jisanul gadon ale amayi jutli tla yuwohiyune untokiyasti dunuktane jutli ale jistan galkogi gadusi dunuktane wunatlusti agui we got lucha galkogine gadusi we dige tlu skesti da closa que se esti. Gadu galan lati o dala unilosa galgog gadusi dunisuyesa unatlasti. Unlena he uskanol gese gistan jutli ulohisele gistan gistan wajiniya sela jutli ganidata na ulose ganidata wu ki lo he gistan wu ki lo he gistan utlist jutli wu tlustana jutli ganidata ki lo gistan Wunilucha galgogine gadusi jutli uwetlune gistan na uwetlune sku. Usquan god aliela he jutli na gistan wunilucha wulucha sku jutli utadane na gistan siwu in Tokia unaktahase Wuntogiastana o dala junlena he ayetli tla antogiaska jutli utlist uktahase na gistan hale ulose no wu stayosa wajiniya sele jutli ganidata. Okay, so that's as far in the story as we've gotten. Let's see if we can finish the story today. Okay, this says skinny nudanel kola ha wajiniya sela ganidata. Okay, so there are some words in here that we already know. For example, we've been exposed to this word ganidata, right? Ganidata. And wajiniya sela, grabbed. So this word here, kola ha. Okay, kola ha. Okay, kol means bone. Kola. Okay, kola. Okay, kola ha means bony. All right. So, for example, the last name Bony, kola ha. Okay. So, skinny nudanel. So that's like saying, when that happened, or when it happened like that, okay, skinny nudanel, when it happened that way, kola ha, bony part, wajiniya sela ganidata. So he grabbed the bony part of the tail. Okay? Jutli wuluche o dadla wuwetlune Ale gisten ulvetlunesco. Okay, this sentence, you should be able to kind of figure out what's going on here. So, Jutli, that's our fox, Wuluche, when he arrived, Odala, okay, when he arrived at the mountain, Wuwetlune, he shouted, Ale and Gistan Wuwetlunescu also shouted, right? So that was a pretty easy one. Okay. Now, this one, Jutli Aguhistana Gistan Galonu Heska. Okay, so Jutli Aguhistana, he made an accusation. He accused somebody. Aguhistana. Okay. Gistan, crawdad, Galonu Heska. Cheated. Galonu Heska means cheat. Okay. So Jutli Aguhistana Gistan Galonu Heska. He accused the crawdad of cheating. Jutli Aguhistana Gistan Galonu Heska. All right, the next one says Gistan Udahila Ulonu Hetla. Okay, Udahila Ulonu Hetla. Okay, so Gistan Udahila, he denied it. Ulonu Hetla, that he had cheated. Okay, Gistan Udahila Ulonu Hetla, he denied cheating. Jutli Unosele Gistan, he told the crawdad, Aguant Skiniya Sela Ginidata. Okay, so there are some words in here that we know, but we know them in a different way. Okay, so of course, Jutli, that's the same. Unosele told him, Gistan, the crawdad, Aguant, I know. Aguant, I know. Skiniya Sela, that you grabbed me. Okay? Skiniya Sela, you grabbed me. Gini data, my tail. Okay, we know Gani data, right? His tail. Gini data, my tail. Okay, so Jutli Uno Sele, Gistan. So the fox told the crawdad, Aguant, I know, Skiniya Sela, Gini data, I know that you grabbed me on my tail. Okay? Skiniya Sela, grab me. Okay? Jutli Ajikehi Dola Gistan Klaskin Eli Yultise. Okay? Jutli, the fox, Ajikehi Dola Gistan, that's he chased him around. Okay? Ajikehi Dola means to chase around. Okay? Jutli Ajikehi Dola Gistan, so he chased the crawdad around. Klaskin Eli, could not. Yultise, escape or run away. Okay? Yultise means to escape or run away. Klaskin Eli Yultise, he could not do that. Okay? Jutli Ajikehi Dola Gistan Klaskin Eli Yultise. So he was not able to escape. Uh-oh. Ju tli wa ji ya ji stun. Okay? Ju tli wa ji ya ji stun. Okay, this word waji we had it in the very first lesson, and we talked about the difference between waji and agia, right, or wagia. Okay, so agia means to eat something, but waji means to gobble something up or to eat something that's alive. Okay, so this is something that carnivores do, right? They eat another living thing. Ju tli wa ji that means to eat something living. Okay, ju tli wa ji ji stun. So, and here we have a picture of ji squaw wa ji ji stun, right? Okay, and that's the entire story. That's the end of that story. Okay? So let's look at this last bit that we have learned today, and then we'll say it a few times, and then we'll try to read it in syllabary, okay? Okay, this says, skinny nu danel kola ha wa jini sela gani da jutli wulu je o dalla wu we clune ale giston wu we clune squil jutli agu histana giston galonu heska giston adahila ulonu hetla jutli uno sele gistan aguant skinia sela gini data jutli ajike dola gistan klaskin eli yultise jutli wajia gistan. Okay? So hopefully you're able to follow along. We'll read it little bit by little bit with some of the signs. Okay? So skini nu danel kola ha wajini sela gani da. So when this happened, he grabbed the bony part of the tail. Kola ha bony gani da tail. He grabbed it. Wajini sela. Jutli wulu che o dala wu wet lune ale giston wu wet lune squil. Okay, so when the fox arrived at the mountain, he yelled, and the crawdad also yelled. Yes? Jutli aku histana, he accused gistan galonu heska, cheating. Galonu he. There's a common Cherokee last name, Kalonaheski. Sometimes you'll hear Galonaheski or Kalonaheski. That's cheater. And that's their last name, Kalonuheski. But this is Galonuheska. He cheated. Galonuheska. He cheated. Gistan adahila ulonuhetla. Okay, he denied cheating. Jutli uno sele gistan aguant skinia sela gini data. Jutli ajikehi dola gistan klaskin eli yultise. Jutli wajiya gistan. Okay, so I'm going to read it a little bit faster, and then we'll go through it slow, and then we'll read it all in syllabary, okay? So, skinny nu danel kola ha wajini sela gani doctor. Jutli wulu je odala wuwe klune, ale jisten wuluwe klune squo. Jutli aguhis tana jisten galonu heska. Jisten adahila ulonu hetla. Jutli uno sele jisten awan skinia sela jini data. Jutli ajikehi dola jisten plaskin eli yultise. Jutli wajia jisten. Okay? So, hopefully you were able to follow what was going on. Let's read this now. So we're going to take it together. We're going to kind of slog our way through it. Remember, don't give up and don't feel overwhelmed. We'll take it one little thing at a time. You can find a lot of times online a free syllabary chart. Sometimes it's nice if you pull that up, or if you print one out and have it next to you when you're doing your reading exercises. Okay? And you can take these and you can read them. Just take them and print them out. And then when you're doing your study time, because I know some of you, of course, are doing this for college credit, and some of you are just doing this because you want to know the language. And so whenever you set aside your study time to learn, I encourage you to try printing it out in Cherokee syllabary and work your way through it. I know it takes longer and it's more difficult, but in the end, it's going to help you understand Cherokee better and read Cherokee better. I know I'm guilty of being lazy and I don't do it nearly enough, but I challenge you to find times to do that. Okay, so let's work through this last paragraph together, and then we'll try to read the entire story from beginning to end. Okay, Hawa Idalena. So it says, skinny nu danele, skinny nu danele. When this happened, kola ha boni wajiniya sela grabbed gani data tail. Wajiniya sela grabbed gani data tail. Jutli fox wulu je arrived. Odala the mountain. Wuwe klune, he yelled. Ale and G-stunna, the crawdad. Wuwe klune squeal also yelled. Jutli aguhistana, accused. Aguhistana, that's a new word that we have not had yet. Aguhistana, except for today. Aguhistana, it's a new one for me as well, so I'm going to go over it a few times to help myself. Aguhistana. Notice this gu looks a lot like the syllabary character da. Okay, I'm trying to find a da in here. Here's a da right here. Okay, u da he la. Okay, so when it's going this way, it's a da. When it's going like a letter J, it's gu. Okay, aguhistana, G-stana. Galonu heska. That's cheated. Galonu heska. Okay? G-sturna, the crawdad. Udahiyila, he denied. Ulo nu he tla, ulo nu he tla. Cheating, that he cheated. Ulo nu he tla, that he cheated. Ju tli, uno sele, told. G stunna, the crawdad. Aguanata, aguant, I know. Skinny sela, you grabbed me. Genie da, on my tail. Genie da, on my tail. Ju tli. Ajigehidola. Okay. Ajigehidola. Ajike. Let's go back through and let's check and see if this should be ge or ke. So if we look here, it says ajike. Okay. So it can make two sounds. So ajike. Hidola, ajikehidola, ajikehidola, ajikehidola. G-stunna. He chased him around, right? Tla skinny, tla skin, eli, could. Yuli T, say yul. Say escape. Could not escape. Tlaskin elid yul T, say could not escape. Or he couldn't run away. Either way. Ju tli wajia gistan wajia gistan. So the fox ate the crawdad. Okay, so I suppose maybe the moral of this story is don't cheat or you're going to get eaten, right? So, let's read back through it. Skinny nudanele kola ha wajinia sela ganidata jutli wulu che odala wuwetlune ale gistan wuwetlune squil. Jutli aguhistana gistan galonu heska gistan udahila ulonu hetla jutli uno sele gistan aguant skinia sela gini data jutli ajikehidola gistan klaskin eli yultise jutli wajia gistan. Okay, so let's try and read it together. Okay, let's give it our best shot. I'll go super slow. If you need your syllabary chart next to you, then get your syllabary chart and lay it next to you, put it on pause, and then start again once you have everything that you need to help. I will try to read as slow as I can. If you're watching this, for example, on YouTube or something like that, if you go up in the gear and hit that little settings, you can change the playback speed. Okay, so even though I'm reading it slow, if I'm not reading it slow enough, you can change the playback speed. It makes me sound kind of funny, but you know, that's fine. That's okay, but you can change. I would recommend, you know, playing it maybe at 3/4, 0.75, or even 0.5. Probably 0.75 will give you the least distortion, but it will slow it down, okay? So that's just a little tip if you don't know how to change the playback speed if you're watching it on YouTube, all right? So let's read through it slow together, and then we'll try it maybe a little bit faster. Again, I'm working my way through some of these words myself because they're new words for me. Okay, I do want to thank Peggy Gertie Flute. She's the one who did the translation for this story. So, so some of the words are brand new to me, and I'm trying to learn them as well. So, okay, so here we go. Skinny nudanele kolaha Wajini sela gani data ju kli wulu je odala wu we klune ale ji stun wu we klune squil Jutli aguhistana G-stun galonuheska G-stun udahiyila ulonuhetla Jutli Uno sele gistan aguant skania sela gini data jutli ajike dola gistan klaskin eli yultise Jutli Wajia G-stun. Okay. Excellent job. Let's try and read the entire story. So maybe rather than try to read it along with me, unless you feel very confident, you can do one of two things. If we have time, I'll read it a couple times through, but the story is a little bit long. So you can either follow it with your finger, follow along, okay? You can point to it, or you can not worry about that part at all and concentrate on the comprehension and just listen to the story and try to remember what's happening as we tell the story, okay? So, I will do my best. I will try to read fairly slow, and I'll probably have to read fairly slow, and I might stumble over a couple words, but we'll do our best. Okay? Nozu idalena. Okay. Ila hiu jagesa nigada inage anehi eli dantlano heska sawu iga klawo tuhi na amayulti Ansini doha G-stun na jutli wuwotla unlena he dan tlano heska jutli G-stun utadane do use hisanul gadon ale amayike hisanul udane G-stun Utloi Gisanul Gadon Ale Amai Jutli Tla Yuohi Yune Untogi Yasti Dunuk Tane Jutli Ale Gistan Galkwog Gadusi Dunuk Tane Wuna tlusty. Akayi, we got lucha, galkogine, gadusi. We dige tlu her skesti. We dige tlu her skesti. Okay. Uda tlosa ge sesti. Gadu galalat o dala. Wuni losa. Galkog gadusi, dunisuyesa, wuna tlasti. Unalena he, uskanol gese gistan, jutli, ulohisele, gistan. Gistan wajiniya sela jutli ganidata, na'a ulose. Ganidata wukilohe, wukilahe, gistan. Okay, we're right here. Okay, utlist jutli wutlastana, jutli ganidata ukilon gistan. Wuni lucha galkwogine gadusi, jutli uwetlune. Gistan na'a uwetlune squil. Usquanict uyelase jutli na gistan wulucha squil. Jutli utadane na gistan siwu intoki inatokia. Unaktahuse, muntogiastana, odala, unalena he, ayetli, tlan, antogiaska, jutli, utlist, uktahuse, najistan, hale wulose, nowu, stayosa, wajiniya sele jutli ganidata. Skini nudanele, kolaha wajiniya sele ganidata. Jutli wulute odala, uwetlune, ale gistan, uwetlune squil. Jutli akuhistana, gistan, galonu heska, gistan, udahiyila, ulonu hetla, jutli, unosele, gistan, awant, skiniya sela, ginidata. Jutli ajikehi dola gistan, klaskin eli yultise, jutli wajia gistan. All right, so we made it all the way through. And now let's look at our notes page. So this is a page, if you choose to write out some notes, or you choose to copy this out and put in a notebook for your own notes, you can do so. So, nudanele, he did it. Aguhistana, he made an accusation. Okay, we have adahiyila, udahiyila, he denied it. Agwant, I know, agwant. You can say tlayagwant, I don't know. Okay. Then you can say ajikehi dola, that means to chase somebody around. And tla yultise, he did not run away, or he did not escape. Tla yultise. All right. So that brings us to the end of this class and to the end of this story. So now you know the entire story about Jutli, alegistan. Hopefully you enjoyed it and you got a lot of knowledge out of it. Watch it over and over and over as many times as you can, and that will help you learn the vocabulary. So from all of us here, I just want to say wadon and ihedola. Come back and see us. Okay.